you actually expand on, tell us more about the Dana economy and why it is an inherently Buddhist thing to do?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, Croydon Buddhist Centre, we have what's called the Dana economy, which Dana means generosity. That's the word for generosity. So it's an economy that's based on generosity. And I think we have a particularly radical form of the Dana economy. So everything at the Buddhist Centre is on a Dana basis. That includes the yoga classes and the Qigong classes. It included, like a couple of weeks ago, an urban retreat where we fed people. People got 2 dinners and 2 lunches cooked by a cordon bleu chef. Excellent Dharma teaching, and it was all just purely on donation. Yeah. I think a lot of Buddhist centres, the Dharma activities will be on a Dharma basis, but not necessarily the yoga and the other activities. So we're doing it in a really kind of quite radical way. I suppose the reason is we just want to base things on generosity. We want to have an economy which isn't based on a kind of transaction, a kind of idea of you're paying to get something, but that we're just kind of giving to make something happen which we value and which we love and which we want to see flourishing in the world. And also, it's personally, I think Dana is a really transforming spiritual practice. So once you start operating on the basis of generosity, you move from, relating to things in terms of, what can I get out of this? What's in this for me? Just kind of, it might not be exactly in those words in your head, but that's sort of the kind of calculation that's going on. What's in this for me? What can I get? Once you start being generous, it's like it's moving from that to what can I give? What can I give this situation? Yeah. And in a way, if you want to move towards enlightenment or want to move towards an insight, that's the essential revolution that needs to happen. That's the essential transformation that Buddhism is getting at. That's where our real happiness lies, is from moving from what's in this for me, to what can I give? Yeah? So we're running the centre on a model that encourages people to sort of make that switch, to start thinking in that way. Yeah, very, very, deliberately trying to do that. I'll just sort of expand on that a little bit. So I once heard a guy describe a fundraising pitch he did. So he did some workshop, and at the end, it was on a Dana basis, on a donation basis. So at the end of it, he did his kind of pitch for donations, and he was a fundraiser. And some fundraisers are very pokey. They're just not frightened asking for money. Most of us are a bit shy asking for money. Some fundraisers can be just very direct, and he's one of these style fundraisers, very, very sort of direct. So what he said apparently was, look, you can do one of 3 things. You can either think, what can I get away with? That's one way of relating. Is what can I get away with? Which is basically here. You can get away with, you can just walk out the door and never pay anything. No one will ever kind of, challenge that in a way. That's, but, obviously it's fine to not pay anything if you genuinely can't afford it. But I'm more talking about a kind of mentality of, what can I get away with? So that's one way of relating. Another way of relating, which would be an improvement, is what's it worth? Yeah, what is this worth? Yeah. So thinking about, okay, if I went to a sort of similar event somewhere else, what would I expect to pay for this? And maybe I'll pay that, or actually it's been quite good, so I'll definitely pay that. That kind of calculation. Yeah. So I'm not saying there's no room for that at all, but it's still transactional. It's still like, well, what was the value of what I got, and I'm just going to give no more than that back. You see what I mean? So it's still a particular way of relating. Yeah. And then the third thing he said, what you can do is think about, do I really value this and want to help this happen in the future, to kind of give on that basis? Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So it's encouraging people to move up from what can I get away with to what's it worth, But then not even just what's it worth. What do I love about this? What do I value about this? And how can I help? Is this something that I really want to sort of get behind and help to happen in the future? Yeah. And that might mean that, and then you just give according to your circumstances. So it might mean if you haven't got very much money, you give less than you know it's worth, but you're giving what you can to help it. Do you see what I mean? Or it might mean you're able to give more than you know it's worth, but you're able to do that, and you're happy to do that because you really value it and you really want to happen. So that's the Dharma economy. It's getting people to, it's hopefully us all relating on that basis of doing something because we love it, we value it, we want to see it flourish, and moving out of that kind of transactional mode, because ultimately that transactional mode is self-referential. And Buddhism is all about going beyond self-referential. Yeah. So it's a spiritual practice for us, individually and as a community.
Yeah. Wow. Like it's so interesting listening to this, because it basically, like, it represents a different way of relating to money. That it is possible to relate to money in a more constructive way. Like, money is, there's nothing inherent in money. It's a social construct, and we are actually like co-producing it all the time. And this is a way to, in a way, like, you said something about purification to me the other day. Can you tell me a bit about it, actually? Like, how, like, money, how we can conceive money, actually, money itself, in a different way that might underpin also this sort of way of relating to it.
Yeah. So we're trying to do a very radical thing. I mean, actually, you said that to me the other day, and it kind of brought me up short because, because I've been doing this a long time. So I just sort of take it for granted. I just think, oh yeah, this is just how we do things. And then you said, well, where else would there be a whole weekend of teaching plus 2 dinners and 2 lunches cooked by a cordon bleu trained chef? And it's totally on a donation basis. And then I thought, yeah, blimey, there wouldn't be anywhere else that would do that apart from another faith community, basically. That would be the only other place where that kind of thing might happen. So it's very, very radical. I think it's really worth us remembering that we're trying to do something quite special, I think. And so another aspect of it is our whole attitude to money. So we've got to live with money. We've got to deal with money. And I think it's really worth looking at our relationship with money. If you look at your relationship with money, you'll probably start to notice certain habits and attitudes. And you'll probably notice those are the same habits and attitudes that show up in all areas of your life. Yeah, so it's really worth looking at your relationship with money. And money is very, very powerful, isn't it? Very, very sort of symbolic. It's just, I was going to say it's just bits of metal and bits of paper, but it isn't that anymore. It's just a little piece of plastic. Yeah. And some numbers on a screen when you do your internet banking. It's this mysterious thing that doesn't actually exist. And yet it symbolizes so much. It symbolizes security. It symbolizes freedom. It symbolizes choice. Yeah. And I guess the Buddhist view of things is that, money can't really give you freedom.
Yeah.
It can give you a kind of basic security, but real freedom comes from within. Real freedom is freedom of mind and freedom of heart. And it's a myth or a delusion to think that you're going to get freedom from money, because what happens is you end up slaving away trying to earn enough money to become free. You just get caught up in a kind of system, as it were. So I think it's really, really worth thinking about our relationship with money. But that doesn't mean being frightened of money or seeing money as bad. So the purification thing I was talking about, it was an idea I got from a presentation I heard from some people from Triodos Bank, which is a big ethical bank in Europe. They operate in this country. probably one of the most ethical banks there are, and probably one of the leaders in kind of working out how to do banking ethically, how to deal with money ethically. And in this presentation, they said often people get caught up and worked about is the money pure in terms of where it's come from. You know, has this money come from a kind of pure ethical sources? They said, in a way, that's not a relevant question, because even if you know it immediately came from something good, you don't know where they got the money from. You don't know where they got the money from. Any money has been involved in something dodgy. You won't have to go far back before that's the case. You can't control that. All you can do is when you get it is then send it somewhere good. Yeah. So there's no such thing as pure money, but you can purify money. Yeah. You can use your money as well as you can. You know, and we have to have money, we have to use money to live in the society. So you can just in whatever way you can purify it by putting as much of it as possible into things that you know are good, that you value, that accord with your values. Yeah. So that was this idea of purification.
That's amazing.